Guys, have we just reached peak soundbar at this point, maybe? Like, do we need another product, another brand jumping in the race? Or is there maybe still some room for innovation and growth? I think we might find out today. Hey guys, it's Caleb, I'm back. And yeah, I've been thinking about this whole soundbar thing for a while now, especially since Samsung, right? They came out with the Q900 series soundbars and they've been amazing for like 3 years, but they've also just kind of stayed the same. They got a new model number, but they've more or less been the same great, amazing soundbar all of those years. But then I thought, well, sometimes it's just exciting when there's a new model of something, right? Maybe that's what it's all about. New product comes out and it's just exciting to see it. And I admit there's an element to that going on here. If you haven't already figured it out, we're gonna be unboxing, setting up, and getting our first listen at the new Klipsch Flexus system. I've had some doubts about this whole Klipsch Flexus situation, and I'm totally gonna explain that in a minute. But first, I always judge a product based on how heavy it is. The soundbar actually has some decent weight to it, so that gives me some optimism. And then the surrounds, definitely wish those were heavier. And I can also tell you that the subwoofer, especially for a Klipsch subwoofer, feels a little on the light side. So I mentioned before that I really had my doubts about the merits of this particular system for mostly one big reason. Most of the PR that's come out from the Klipsch group around this new system has been around the integration of Onkyo electronics, right? So Klipsch, legendary speaker brand, now partnered with Onkyo, legendary audio brand known for their amplifiers and their AV receivers for decades now, come together in one product. I mean, that should be exciting, you know what I mean? But I just got this whole like corporate acquisition vibe off the whole thing. Let me explain what I mean. Back in 2011, the Klipsch group was acquired by Vox International. And actually Klipsch since then has produced some amazing products. Maybe some of its best products in years have come out recently. And so that's gone well. That whole corporate acquisition thing didn't get too much in the way of the brand continuing its heritage and its legacy, literally and figuratively. And then it was 2-3 years ago, I think it was in 2021, it was announced that the Premium Audio Corporation, sort of this umbrella corporation now for all these audio brands, which also includes Pioneer, now had acquired Onkyo. And that Onkyo electronics would continue to be made, but in Sharp's factory. So there's like 75% Premium Audio Corporation and 25% Sharp stake in Onkyo, and Sharp would be the manufacturer. So far, that has not resulted in anything negative. In fact, I think one of the Integra receivers that I got, Integra is like the Lexus to Onkyo's Toyota, if you will, right? So I got this Integra receiver. It was great, so no worries there. But then Klipsch came out and they did this whole Flexus featuring Onkyo electronics. And I don't know why. I'm not sure I can even reason this, but something about it, something about the language in the press release, the way it was being talked about, just had these like, we're doing it because we can vibes and we really want to sell this. And, you know, as if Klipsch's name wasn't strong enough, adding Onkyo would somehow add some street cred to this whole deal. Anyway, just completely unwarranted personal biases coming from me on this whole thing. But of course, when they offered me a review sample, I was like, well, yes. The last time we reviewed a Klipsch soundbar product, it was the Cinema 1200. And though that thing had a few issues, it was pretty stinking outstanding. In fact, it's still available. You can get a great deal on it. But as of the introduction of the Flexus line here, that product has been sunset. There will be no more Klipsch Cinema Series soundbar products in the way that they were before. Its major issue was electronics related, actually. It was the user interface wasn't great, And also the input-output reliability of the electronics section was also not awesome. So if it really is true that the electronics, the amplifiers and the interface that's built into the Klipsch Flexus system has been tested over 1,000 times using Onkyo's very rigorous testing methodology, then hey, maybe it will actually benefit this system. So I felt a little bit of optimism creeping in. But also, my friend Simon Cohen got a set for review, and he's gonna be doing that for the website. And he started texting me over the weekend, and he's like, I kind of like what I'm seeing here. By the end of the weekend, he was like, dude, this system is legit, and you gotta check it out. Sounds like I was probably wrong, but we're going to find out, because while I usually agree with Simon, I don't always. You know, that doesn't look half bad. Right, so this is the Core 200 soundbar, and as suspected from picking up the box, it's hefty. The build quality seems really good here. The faux wood veneer, which is on the top of this soundbar and also on the sub, we'll take a closer look at that in a moment, looks really nice. The build quality in general seems great. We'll get into the specs here in a moment, but pretty simple in terms of in-out. We've got HDMI ARC optical port, subwoofer output, if you want to hardwire a subwoofer. There's also a USB-C port on here, and then space for a power cable, of course. We've got 2 top firing drivers in here. It looks like we've got some mid-bass drivers and some tweeters. Up firing for some Atmos effects, and then an array of drivers more obscured behind this piece of cloth fabric, which has kind of a rugged feel to it, but also I really like that. We'll get into the specs of the soundbar, including the actual driver size and the power delivery of the Class D digital amps that are in this. We'll get into that as we're actually setting things up. Moving on to the surround speakers. They're more or less what I expected. They're not comically light. They don't feel like toys. But this obviously is not a wood cabinetry. It's plastic. I've learned to reserve judgment on things like this until I've actually heard them. I will point out though, no top firing drivers, right? So this will be a 5.1.2 system. Looks like it comes with a couple of power cables. I bet those are about 6 foot. That's pretty par for the course. Here's the part, this reminds me why I felt kind of down on this system just at the get-go. And bear in mind, I'm a Klipsch fan, right? So I feel like it's kind of saying something that I really had my doubts about this system, but this is a reminder, a USB dongle, okay? The way you get wireless connection between the soundbar and either the surrounds or the subwoofer, because this is a modular system, right? It's a USB dongle. What and why? There could be some legit engineering reasons here. Look, there's a ton of other soundbars out there that have no problem with wireless connectivity with the antennas built into the soundbar, the speakers, and the subwoofer themselves. Why Klipsch had to be different and go with the USB dongle, I don't know. They'll probably email me and say, Caleb, we'd be happy to tell you. We'll get to that. You know what? I'll just pull the subwoofer up onto the table because it's light enough to do so. Hey guys, I'm a subwoofer. Generally, I would not want to be able to do that with subwoofer. But again, this is a vinyl wood wrap and it looks really nice. When you touch it, it's like, yeah, that's vinyl. But it looks really nice. And interestingly enough, if we put this around, these are support feet. We could make this sort of an up-firing subwoofer if we wanted to. Built-in amplifier, we'll get into the power specs on that later. We do have a subwoofer line input here for an RCA subwoofer cable if we wanted to hardwire this sub. You could also use some other subwoofer if you really wanted to and not necessarily go with the whole wireless thing. But again, if you're gonna integrate a wireless piece with this system, you're gonna need a USB dongle to do so. In this case, it came with the surrounds, but if you were to buy the soundbar and the subwoofer, you would get the USB dongle with the subwoofer. It comes with the wireless product. Oh yeah, hey, so before I start setting this up and talk specs with you, let's go ahead and talk about the price. The soundbar, this one anyway, is $500. There is a smaller, less equipped model that is less money if you want to go with that. $300 for this subwoofer, and then $250 for the 2 surround speakers. So total system cost is a little over $1,000, $1,050 bucks. to be precise. That's definitely getting up there. So I need this to perform extremely well. Maybe not $1,700 well, like the Samsung Q990C, but it does need to be pretty stellar. All right, let's get this put together. Let's grab the power cord, and I know it's a little thing, but I love that they included this rubberized security strap for wrapping up the cable. So much better than those stupid twist ties. This does come with brackets. Looks like really simple bracket installation for wall mount if you want to. We're obviously going to be placing this on our BDI cabinet, and already got something wrong about the driver complement. So here's the drill. We've got two 2¼ inch aluminum drivers on the left and 2 more on the right. In the center, we have another 2¼ inch aluminum driver, as well as a 3/4 inch horn-loaded tweeter. Only the center channel on this gets a dedicated tweeter, which kind of makes sense. I don't think that we're gonna miss out on a ton of high-end treble from the 2¼ inch all-purpose drivers that we're seeing over on the far left and the right. On the top, we have more 2¼ inch drivers. These, I suppose, are the Atmos drivers. And then we have 2 4-inch speakers. These are billed as subwoofers within this particular soundbar. I'm gonna test the soundbar alone, without the addition of the separate subwoofer, just to get a feel for what kind of bass it produces, without the aid of a subwoofer, and then of course we'll pile on after that. Now, as for amplifier power ratings, I actually haven't been able to find any power ratings for the amps built into this on Klipsch's website, and I looked pretty hard. Maybe they're buried somewhere, I don't know. I also didn't receive them in a press release, so I don't know what kind of rated power is in this soundbar, and honestly, I don't care, because everybody plays fast and loose with wattage ratings in soundbars anyway, especially when it comes to digital amplification. I am somewhat hopeful, however, since I know these are actual Onkyo amplifiers manufactured by Onkyo, that we are looking at some pretty decent power going on inside of this. Now for the Sub, which is a 10-inch subwoofer, or at least the driver is 10 inches on this guy. No power rating for this either, oddly enough. Not sure what that's all about. But if I do get power ratings from Klipsch soon, I'll make sure that I put it in the description. No, the other thing I wanted to mention here is that you can integrate 2 of these subwoofers in this system if you want to, which I think is a great idea. Obviously, that's going to even out some null or dead spaces in your listening room as far as bass is concerned. So yeah, that's another nice little advantage for Klipsch, which describes its wireless connection technology, by the way, as transport technology. But it does promise lightning quick connections, and there should be some real reliability there, at least according to what their claims are. The surround speaker is pretty surround speaker-y. It's gonna go in the surround speaker space. It gets 1 6-foot power cord that goes down in the bottom. There is a 1/4 insert on the back of this so that you can wall mount it with popular speaker wall mounts. It's light enough to do that without you could probably use just drywall anchors, no problem with something like this. And I wasn't sure about the size of the driver, but I measured. It's a 3-inch driver in this guy. Again, not something I could find on the Klipsch website about this, which I think is odd. All right, soundbar is plugged in, and I used the HDMI cable that came with it to go into the eARC port of this Hisense U8N. I realized that this is probably gonna be used more for movies and television shows than music, but I wanna get a feel for how it's gonna pull off music. And I can tell a lot about the bass response from, whoa. What? I'm not joking. That is my first initial reaction, legit. The bass response is ridiculous. Hey, it's got some bass. Those dual 4-inch subwoofers are no joke. Yeah, I'd be the first to tell you if they were just weak sauce, but they're not. Zeke, am I right? Yeah, Zeke's nodding his head. You'll have to trust me on that. Guys, I am not joking. It sounds huge. And I haven't done a detailed breakdown in my head of the fidelity of the system yet, but what I can tell you right now is it's not doing anything bad. It's not honky, it's not shouty, it sounds clean, punchy, and powerful, and way bigger than it looks, way bigger. Like, The Bose 600 has nothing on this thing. And for music, it definitely sounds better than any of the Samsung soundbars that I've used for music listening. It's stupid. It's stupid how good it is. Like, it can get really loud without like treading anywhere close to anything resembling distortion. Guys, my excitement is legit. I need you to know that. This thing is, I wish you could be in here. So here's the deal. I was gonna ask you if you wanted me to do a full review. I was not gonna do one unless I knew there was a lot of interest in this particular thing. But now I'm doing a review regardless because you need to know about this soundbar. I guess you kind of do now, but I definitely want to give it the full breakdown. I will tell you right now that I probably wouldn't feel an urgent need to add a subwoofer with this. It sounds great as is, but I know that subwoofer is going to add a lot, and we got to see what the wireless situation is like. So I'm not going to read any instructions. I'm just going to go plug it in some USB dongles and some subwoofers and see what happens. So here's the deal. I've already spent too much time trying to get all of this paired. I'm sure this is covered in the instructions, and I'm sure the instructions are going to be very clear, but I would argue that so many other surround soundbar systems out there just have instantaneous pairing, like you plug them in, it's paired. That's it. You don't do jack. I would like it to be like this. Now I understand because it's modular that maybe it's a little bit different, but I think there's a way to do wireless technology where it just, you plug it in and it just works, right? All right, I checked the manual and I did exactly what I was supposed to do. Press and hold on the wireless devices first, and then press and hold the pair button on the Klipsch soundbar, the Flexus Core 200, and it's supposed to all just connect. Now what's weird is, without me doing anything and just standing around and reading, waiting to figure out how to do this, the sub magically connected all on its own. The surrounds, however, had not, so I've started the process over again. Press and hold, wait. And given what happened last time, I'm gonna wait this out. So, all right, I was about to give up, and then it just kind of worked. I couldn't tell you why or how, but it did. Eventually, it has connected. And I suspect now it's going to be nice and stable and solid. Anyway, let's hear what it sounds like with the sub and the surrounds involved. Yeah, we actually stand a chance at pissing off the neighbors, which, you know, it's a Klipsch line. Look, guys, here's the deal. This thing sounds pretty outstanding right now. The sub seems a little detached from the soundbar, but I haven't really played around with blending things in yet. The surround effects sound great so far. There's some virtual Atmos going on. I won't be able to actually gauge the reflected off the ceiling Atmos until I put this up in the loft and use it there, because the ceilings are too high to do that on the main floor. But initial impressions are wildly positive. Honestly, the most impressive thing was the soundbar on its own. I'm gonna play around with listening to that just on its own for quite a bit longer. And then, you know, obviously I'll bring in the subwoofer and the surrounds and give this thing a full workout. But I am feeling a little bit embarrassed, to be honest with you, about how I doubted that this system might be all bluster, right? It might be all, you know, brand integration, chest beating, and purely like looks good on paper kind of deal. But it seems really legit. Obviously, there's a big difference between this and the Cinema series that came out before it. I think this is a good direction for Klipsch. Those are the initial impressions. Like I said, I'm gonna dive deep. I'm gonna give this thing a thorough evaluation, and I'm really excited to do it now, even if I do feel a little bit silly for coming into this with some pretty strong bias. Anyway, that has been the unboxing, the pontification, the setup, and the first impressions of the Klipsch Flexus system. I hope you are excited for the full review. I know I'm excited to make it. Let me know down in the comment section if you would. Don't forget to like and subscribe this video. I hope you have enjoyed it so much. I'll see you on the next one, and until then, here's 2 other videos I think you might like.